Hello and welcome to the Faith Building Podcast, episode 12, with your amazing hosts,
Vladi, Kuna, and
Norman Gräter. And today we want to speak about gratitude and also continue from episode 11 with feeling is the secret and emotions are the secret. And I just shared with Vladi, I have no clue how to start as we're not prepared to do anything. So the first thing that came, I'm so happy and grateful that one of my one-on-one clients just wrote me and said, oh, my son has something in school on Friday where we're going to meet for our next session. I cannot do 10. Can you do a session in the afternoon? And I put my mind on that a couple days ago and I said, oh, I would love to move that meeting from 10 further into the day because I come from another keynote I give the day before at one point at night back home. So I'm not really keen on being up at 10. So this got resolved by itself, kind of, which means I'm very happy and grateful that things work. But again, I have to feel something and make up my mind. And this brings us back to inspired action from episode 11. We need to take action and at least say, universe, I don't like that. Do something about it. And then just let go and let God. And for my part, it helped. So I have a happy and very, very relaxed Friday.
I love it. It's such a great point that we sometimes stress about things that when we aligned, and really, let me start with this. Gratitude is the highest frequency because it hooks you to a frequency of abundance. So if anything doesn't work in your life or you're not where you would love to be, that is the one thing that will always switch. It doesn't matter how unhappy you are, doesn't matter how bad you feel. It will always hook you up to the frequency of abundance. Why? Because with the gracious heart, you move to a different vibration. And I'm going to go to my stories. I love to listen to Louise Hay meditations in the morning. I remember one of her meditations. There's many. So, like randomly, whichever pops up. But I remember she was talking about, and there are 3 levels of that gratitude. It's like some of them, it's conditioned. So somebody gives you a present and you're like grateful for it because the person caused you to feel deeper gratitude. And I'm not saying that you wouldn't genuinely feel gratitude for this person, but you're thanking for something, or somebody does something for you, or stuff happens for you. It's caused, but the generative unconditional gratitude is a gratitude for life. So my number one thing in the morning when I wake up, I say, thank you, God, for my life. And before my feet even touch my floor, I always say thank you for another great day because so many people didn't wake up today. So, like that genuinely. But going back to Louise Hay, she was saying, do you sometimes feel, and she was guiding us through the guided meditation. And she said, go into your kitchen and say thank you to your fridge for keeping your food cold so it's fresh and then it fuels your body healthily. I've been doing this with my dishwasher and washing machine for years. So made me chuckle. I don't even know why. It's because I'm so grateful I don't have to wash up and I can just load it and somebody does the job for me and saves my precious time. But are we paying attention to the car? It's and we actually, this is a very great example we use with Norman when we study. It's like if you desire to have a new car, and I know it's a materialistic sort of kind of way of talking now, but still, you desire a new car. You have to give love and gratitude for the one you have in your life right now. It doesn't matter because you have to focus on this car being a car that takes you safely from a place A to a place B, and you can always visualize driving the new car. You can visualize the specs you desire to have and the wheel, like in the leather, whatever it is you would like. But if you don't come from the gratitude first, from the current one, so you now have and enjoy whatever it is, and are grateful for what's coming. Because we always expect and would love to have something better and greater, which is a good way. But still, we have to feel the gratitude now. Gratitude for life, gratitude for people, even enjoying a cup of coffee. It's people are somewhere in a plantation who are planting the seeds, they, like nurturing it. Then there are people who process it. There are people who deliver it. There are people who package it. Then there are people who sell it in the shops. That's the generative gratitude, going all the way to all these amazing ideas that are used by us, around us, and making our life easier. But how many times a day we actually stop, pause, and think of this?
Not too often, and that's the key issue. And while you were talking, I thought about the emotional guidance scale from Esther Hicks that I have here on my desk. And really on position number 1, we have joy, knowledge, empowerment, freedom, love, and appreciation. Gratitude is kind of appreciation, what Vladi just shared. Can I be grateful and thankful for the people that deliver the food, that grow the food, that harvest the food, that package the food, and so on? And now you might wonder, so if we combine episode 11 and 12, feeling is the secret and gratitude, why is this so important? And let me do my very best to connect it, as Vladi mentioned it already in episode 11, but just in a tiny sentence. And she also mentioned Dr. Joe Dispenza. So I want to pinpoint down this part again, that it becomes crystal clear to you what she shared already in the last episode, that probably you overheard because it was just 1 or 2 sentences. Everything that you would love to have in your life, let's stick with the car that Vladi just mentioned. You want to have a car, and the question is, why do you want to have the car? And if you pinpoint it down, you will come to the answer that the only reason you want to have the car, the house, the promotion, the vacation, a partner, children, is because you think that this object on the outside makes you happier or more joyful or more gracious or more important or whatever it might be than you are right now. Which means you say, right now I'm unhappy, but with the new car, I would be happier. And Vladi also shared in the last episode, you don't get what you want, you get who you are. Which means the emotional signature you're sending out. Oh, I'm in lack, I don't have it, I'm in lack, but with the car I would be happy. You don't get the car, you get more of the lack, because you say, without the car I'm not happy. And this kind of concludes why feeling is the secret. If the feeling would, or actually is, the only thing you're aiming at, and the car, the house, the promotion is just something to trigger this emotion in you, then you actually don't need the car, right? If you say, I want to have the new car because I know I will feel better, I will feel more joyful. Can you feel joyful in this very moment? Yeah, but Norman, I don't have the car. Yes, but do you have a car? Yes, but it's an old shitty car. Do you know people that have no car at all? Yes. Would they be happy about your car? Would they be happy about the body you have? Would they be happy about the money you have? Yes. Take a different perspective. Change your point of view and say, can I be happy and grateful and joyful about my old shitty car in this very moment? Because this emotional signature sends the signal out and draws it back to you. So this is how the new car comes to you. The health comes to you. The money comes to you. Or in my case, what I shared in the beginning, change of time on Friday for the meeting with my one-on-one client. It's not that I'm so frustrated that I chose the wrong time and that it's his fault. And no blaming. Just being happy for the now. And what Vladi just gave you as an example was amazing. Be happy for the fridge. Be happy for your water toilet. Because if you're somewhere in the midst of Africa, you don't have water and you don't have a toilet. You have a bush. And you can find your way in and find your way out. Reminds me of a story that Vladi shared where she got in trouble going behind the bush. But that's a different story she might share in a second. Therefore, feeling is the secret. Bring the feeling of your wish fulfilled, the car, the house, whatever. Bring this into the now, because the now is the only truth you have. The future does not exist. It's always now. Yeah, but Norman, tomorrow actually happens. Yes, but when tomorrow happens, it's now again. Bring the emotion again from your wish fulfilled into the now and find things to be joyful, grateful. What Esther Hicks writes, joy, knowledge, empowerment, freedom, love, appreciation. This is the highest point on the emotional guidance scale. If you do that, your life will change for the better in an instant.
It's so true. I love what you're saying. And you know, as you were talking, I've got these stickers underneath where my computer is, where I'm talking to you guys. And it's funny because this is actually a sticker I wrote when we attended Neil Donald Walsh's webinar with Norman. And he said, write this on a piece of paper. I'm happiest when I am being, and then put there what you want to be. Because that's what Norman's saying. And I will bring you to the story he mentioned. It really comes down to how you're feeling. And we always very much stress about you thinking positively and feeling what you would love and not what you don't want. But I've learned in my life, and I've really manifested lots of things from where I was and where I am. And I know that sometimes it is actually giving a second. Don't get emotionally involved with it, because we are talking about feeling and emotions here. But don't get emotionally involved. But Norman's idea is actually great. You, for a second, go, there are people who don't have a car, who are people who are unwell, and they would love to have your body. But we sometimes ungrateful unnecessarily. It's not that sometimes we don't realize it. And this is the worst thing, is we don't actually pay attention. We're not being aware of the way we're thinking because we're in that environment. And really, environment is very inducive to how you feel. And the story that Norma mentioned was we were backpacking in Southeast Asia for 4 months. It was a while ago. It was before we had kids, but it was one of the most awakening moments for me. We were in Cambodia, and you know, in Cambodia, if you know a history, there are lots of mines. But we went there because we wanted to see the Angkor Wat. Angkor Wat is this ancient place. It was one of the best places and spiritual places, and it still is my number one spiritual place. It was just the energy and meditation. I used to just sit there, and there were these monks. And at that point, I thought I will stay there forever. Don't even come back to the Western world. But the great feeling example is that when we enter that country from the Western world, where we live here and we have everything and we're quite spoiled, I kind of felt like, oh, this is such a poor country. I had to be careful. So be grateful for safety you have. Because does it even come up to our mind where I live in a quite wealthy place where schools are great, everything's great, it's quite safe. So safety doesn't come up on the list of the things we are grateful for religiously, because we just have it in our life. And sometimes when we have all these great things in our life, we forget how grateful we need to be for those, because there are really many people who don't. And this bus, as it was driving us to the Angkor Wat, because it was like a 3-day sort of pass, it stopped, and it's a toilet. And, you know, it was dusty road. We had to have like a covered mouth so we could breathe this yellow powder on the road everywhere. And I was looking around saying, where are the toilets? And people just literally ran out of the bus and line up next to each other, next to the road. And still some people looking at you from the windows going, well, here. And I was thinking, a typical Western person, like, no way, I'm doing my wee here. So I started walking towards the bushes, which were quite close by. And this guy, the guide, goes crazy. He runs behind me. He's like, hey, what are you doing? I said, well, I just want to go behind the bush for a toilet. And he said, there are mines everywhere. Can you realize the people with no hands and legs everywhere we walked? And it makes you think, because you go like, whoa, you know, like you underestimate how safe we are where we live. And there are people who don't have a clean water. Norma mentioned this, who just come to the tap and put the tap on and use the clean water to drink from. I mean, that's one of the basic life things, to have a clean water. And we moan about things, and I'm going to say moan lovingly, but we do, about things that are really not things. And that on the way back, I remember in that trip as well, there was a really old house. It was a hut. And the woman was doing a washing inside of a muddy water. My mind went like, how can she make it clean in the dirty water? Like she had no other option. And cow was standing right in the middle of there, and her kids were actually next to the cow and bathing. And that, I see that picture in my mind. It's almost like I took a snapshot in my mind. But going back to being happy, I've met the happiest people in my travels in the jungle, people who had nothing, in our eyes nothing, because we give materialistic things so much attention, and do I have million followers and I need to have this. It's all so out of this world in the wrong way, because it's not about the followers. It's about people are rushing through everything these days. They don't pause and create quality. I know AI is a great tool, but I'm gonna say that because I'm not the best friend with AI, so I'm going to say this. Like, we're giving away the time of being present, being grateful, creating from bottom of our heart, which takes time. But people don't want to do it. They want to rush through. They want to ask AI to create a post so they can post it, even though schedule it for a whole year so you don't have to. And these are your people following you, where you're not even making the post. Like, start paying attention to what is it you really love. I mean, if you love that, that's fine. But then that's why we then produce results, because of the feelings we have. And this is my feeling. And, like, you will feel differently about certain things, and it's okay. But pay attention whether you really sticking with your core values in a life. And I took a long answer for this. So I'll hand it back to Noam.
Just want to go back to the AI topic that you just mentioned. And there's no emotion and feeling in AI. AI can do a lot and summarize stuff, and it's great in that, but it has no feeling. It's a machine. So those AI bots that help you answering, let's say, Facebook questions. I mean, can we seriously think about that for a second? Let's say I have a bot and Vladi has a bot. So my bot answers Vladi's bot post. Oh, I really love your message. And now Vladi's bot answers my Facebook bot. Thank you very much for your beautiful comment. There's no emotion involved and there's no human being involved. It's just the computer speaking to each other. So my question would be, why do we need Facebook? And why do we need the post? And why do we need the ad if the AI takes over? Yeah, it saves me time. Where's the emotion? If you say, yes, I'm laying outside in the sun, meanwhile the AI is doing the work, let me ask you the question again. Why do you need the AI answering any questions from another bot that sends questions and answers back and forth, and it's just two computers speaking to each other? Can you just let go of this stuff and enjoy your time in the sun? Let's come from a different angle. I was reminded while you shared your story about the bush and the mines. I was reminded of Alice Herz Sommer, I think her name was. She was the oldest Holocaust survivor in the world that survived the Nazi concentration camp in the Second World War. She turned, I think, 117 before she went back to the Lord. And up to this time, she played piano every day for 1 or 2 hours. She had a very sharp mind. And Phil Goldfine, producer of my movie, won his Academy Award, his Oscar, for this movie about this lady. The Lady Number 6, I think the movie is called. It's a short little movie, kind of a documentary. So it's funny. And I watched various interviews from her as well as the movie. And in one situation, she says, sometimes I am happy that I was in a concentration camp. And in the first moment, at least, maybe if you're like me, you think, ooh, wow, how can you be happy about something cruel and something nasty? And her whole family, besides her child, got wiped out in those camps. So she has a really, really hard and tough story. And now she comes around and says, sometimes I'm happy that I was there. And she gives the conclusion and follows up and says, everything that happens right now in the world where people say, oh, it's so terrible, it's so bad, the politics, the economy, the whatever, it's not so bad. And I can see her smile in front of me, like I would picture it right now, where she says, it's not so bad, whatever is happening right now. And it's what Vladi just shared. If you have one more day to live, you would graciously take and receive a body that has some backache or a stiff neck for a while, or whatever you might be very furious about right now and say, I'm so blocked, I cannot move the way I want to, I cannot do my sports. Yes, but can you relate it to someone who has much less than you do? And the gratitude will jump back at you. And this is something we want to give you for today. Be more grateful about the things that are in your current life. Why? Because you created it. Nobody else created your life. You, with every decision you took and every decision that you did not take and let other people take decisions for you, your current life is being the way it is. You cannot point fingers at other people and say, yeah, because they decided wrong. You let them decide over your head and you follow their advice. The ball is in your field. So can you be grateful for the life you created? And even though you say, I created a mess, I'm at the end of my line. What an amazing thing. So everything that comes from now will be much better. You created the worst outcome, the worst situation ever. But you can change it because all the decisions you made up to this point, you can just make the opposite things and make life work for you in a much better way. Can you start being grateful and positive and joyful in this very moment? It's all in your hands and in your heart.
I love what you were saying about the Holocaust lady, because I looked back as you were talking, because I just recently bought a book about the happiest man in the world, and it is about the Holocaust survivor and the guy. And we sometimes look at this, and what Norman was saying, it's like we think we have freedom, but really, guys, when you think about it, we look at these people back in after the war, and my grandfather actually fought in the Second World War, and the stories he told me, I sometimes look at it and I'm like, it's so amazing. People were together, they were connected. The biggest problem we now have, which comes down to feeling, and especially us building this wall of not having any feelings because everything's so artificial, is really, you must remember, this is the key: togetherness. Like, I remember when I interviewed Neil Donald Walsh, and he said the biggest problem the world faces is alienation, separation. Look at it. Families are separating, friends are separating, kids are talking to each other through phones because of the disconnection. The boots are talking to each other on the Facebook and everywhere. And really, people are more giving energy and emotions to how many people like your post and how many followers you have. But if you remove all these people in your life, how many real friends you building in your life? How many real connections you have? Are there people who you can, it doesn't matter what happens, you can pick up the phone and you dare. You're creating a meaningful relationships, which is really closely connected to feelings. Because you can't have feelings, but we do. We create feelings towards AI and posts and stuff. It doesn't matter. It's almost an illusion. If you delete all the accounts you have on the social media, and I know it's a necessary evil, and we're there as well. I mean, I'm on social media, and if you're actually asking a question why, I'll tell you why. Because there's so much darkness, I've decided I will bring light wherever I can. And my kids, unfortunately, gonna be there because that's the trend these days. So if I can add as much light and positivity through what I'm doing, I will do it. But I'm not focusing on creating whatever is fake, because to me, connections are people. Feelings are because we are there for each other and we help each other and rise together, and not just self-centered focus where the feeling is like, oh, I want to help you all, but let me get my stuff first. That's not how it works. It really doesn't. So that's my kind of, and I'll hand for a final thought to Norman, but really don't blame the world around you. Take a responsibility for everything, because that's where I transform. And I'm still using the sentence Bob Proctor actually told me to write down, and I have it as a reminder at 12 o'clock midday, my time. And it pops up on my phone, and I say, I'm responsible for my feeling, my thoughts, my personal growth, and for every single result I get. And that's the affirmation I've been doing for years. And I really do feel it's really important.
It is, and I love it. And I want to close with a quote that I just found on my desk by Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And I want to add one word: you're always right. Whether you think that gratitude will change your life for the better, or you think it's the biggest bogus thing that you have ever heard, you will always be right. Focus more on the heart, focus more on togetherness, focus more on connection, on your real friends, on sharing things. That's why the two of us are doing the Faith Building podcast together. We could do it on ourselves. Still, the connection of thoughts, of inspirations come from two different angles, male and female. And it just goes and blends so well together that we create something totally new with it. This is how we want to go into the next couple of years in this world. As we shared in episode 10, the Feng Shui, phase 9, we need to heal this stuff that when phase 1 starts in 20 years, we are at the top of our game. And if we would have destroyed the whole planet and would be just all against each other and everybody in their ego thing, this would not be a good start for phase 1. So let's do our best to give the most joy and gratitude and appreciation we can in our everyday life for everything there is. And we see you again in episode 13 of the Faith Building Podcast next week. Till then, take care and bye-bye.
Bye.